Lyra's small hands were shaking when she ran back to me. Her cheeks were wet, her breath catching like she sprinted through a room full of smoke. Behind her, Brielle's living room kept pulsing with polite jazz and champagne laughter, every sound pretending nothing had happened. "What happened?" I asked, already lowering myself so my voice wouldn't climb. Lyra tried to speak and the sound broke. She wiped her face hard with her sleeve, and Brielle said, "I looked past my daughter." Brielle stood near the dessert table, a crystal flute in her hand, framed by gold balloons and the soft glow of attention. She didn't rush over. She didn't even fake concern. She just watched me with that smile she saved for moments she wanted to win. Then she said it loud enough to land, soft enough to pass as playful if anyone wanted an excuse. "No room for your discount store kids at this party," she smirked. The room paused, not for long. Just long enough for people to decide whether to laugh. Lyra's shoulders folded in like she'd been tapped in the spine. My own face went very still. I could feel the instinct to flare, to make it loud. Brielle wanted that. She wanted me to be the problem so she could stay the star. Lyra tugged my coat sleeve once, pleading without asking. "Mom," she whispered, "can we go?" "Yeah," I said, gentle and certain. "We're going." Brielle's brows lifted, almost disappointed. "Oh, don't be dramatic, Noemi. It's just a joke." I didn't look at the guests. I didn't scan for allies. I focused on my child. "It didn't feel like a joke to Lyra," I said. Then I opened the door and left. Outside, Lyra pressed her face into my coat and sobbed with the kind of honesty adults spend years learning to hide. I held her there on Brielle's perfect front steps under the warm porch light, beside our car parked among glossy SUVs, and I let myself feel one clean thought. Nobody gets to make my daughter feel ashamed for existing. I buckled Lyra in with hands that didn't shake. The seatbelt clicked like a final answer. "I tried to be nice," Lyra whispered. "I brought the drawing I made for her." My throat tightened. "You were kind," I told her. "That's never something to be embarrassed about." She said, "My dress is from the cheap place," Lyra said, staring at her lap. "She said kids who wear those dresses make the party look bad." "Your dress is not the problem," I said. "You are not the problem." Lyra swallowed. "Are we poor?" The word landed like a pebble in deep water small, but the ripples reached everywhere. "We're safe," I said. "And even if we weren't, no one would get to talk to you like you're less. Money doesn't give people permission to be cruel." Lyra watched my profile, searching for something steady. I gave it to her. "Some people confuse money with worth," I said. "And some people confuse being loud with being important. We don't." We drove home in quiet. I carried her inside even though she was old enough to protest. She didn't. She clung. In her room, I tucked her in and smoothed her hair. "If someone says something like that again," I told her, "you look at me. And you remember, you don't have to stay in unsafe places." She nodded like she was storing the sentence for later. When her breathing softened into sleep, I walked to the kitchen and stood at the counter like a woman who had just been handed a bill she refused to pay. My phone was already buzzing. "Brielle, relax. Don't make a scene." "Brielle, people are watching my reputation, Noemi. Don't embarrass me." "Mom, where did you go? Mom, come back. Your sister didn't mean it." A familiar old ache tugged at me. The ache of being asked to carry everyone as comfort while my own was treated like an inconvenience. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my banking app. There it was, Willowbrook Country Club event deposit, paid with my card. My stomach went hollow, then steady. I clicked the details. It wasn't the first, small transfers. Temporary payments. Just until Carter's bonus hits. Just until the brand deal clears. Little rescues scattered through my statement like footprints I'd been trained to ignore. Brielle had insulted my child while standing under decorations I financed. That's when the anger inside me did something different. It didn't explode. It organized. On the yellow notepad by the fridge, I wrote 3 lines in clean, firm letters. "Protect Lyra. Stop funding disrespect. Make it visible. Truth doesn't need volume. It needs documentation. For years, I told myself it was normal. Normal that Brielle's emergencies always arrived with a deadline. Normal that my steady nature meant I could absorb the extra weight. Normal that when our mother said, "She's just sensitive," what she really meant was, "You can handle it." Even as adults, the roles stayed the same. Brielle the spark, Carter the manager, me the quiet fallback. The one who didn't need anything, so nobody checked. But last night, I watched Lyra learn that same lesson: be small so someone else can feel big. And I decided the pattern ended with me. I opened my laptop and pulled up the shared folder I'd kept for years, family scanned copies of everything. Loans, leases, contracts, transfer summaries. I opened the loan file. Guarantor, Noemi Calder. My name, in pale legal language, like a signature written into the foundation of her life. If there was no room for us, there would be no room for my money. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. The next morning, Lyra ate her cereal slowly, watching me like she was waiting to see if the world would punish us for leaving. You belong everywhere. At drop-off, Lyra paused with her hand on the car door. If someone says something like that again, she asked, what do I do? You leave, I said. And you tell me, that's not you being rude. That's you protecting yourself. When she ran toward the school doors, I watched until she disappeared. Then I sat in the car with my hands on the wheel and called the one person who never asked me to swallow myself. Anika picked up on the second ring. Tell me, she said. I told her what Brielle said, what Lyra felt, what I saw in my account, what the documents showed. I didn't cry. I didn't perform pain. I gave Anika the timeline. When I finished, she exhaled. Okay, first, I'm sorry. Second, we separate your life from her liabilities. I don't want to ruin her, I said. You're not ruining her, Anika replied. You're removing yourself. If he falls, that's gravity, not revenge. At noon, her office smelled like lemon tea and paper. She spread my documents across her desk and started marking them the way you mark a map before a long walk. You're the guarantor on 2 things, she said. And you're listed as an authorized signer on a business account. We can revoke access today. The guarantees take notice periods. But your exposure stops now. My pen felt heavy. Each signature was a boundary made visible. Anika slid another page toward me. This removes her access to your personal accounts immediately, she said. No more transfers. No more temporary rescues. I signed, and the relief was so sharp it almost hurt. Now, Anika said, pushing her phone toward me, one message, neutral, simple. I typed, Brielle. Effective immediately, you no longer have access to my accounts. I'm removing myself as guarantor on your loans and Carter's credit facility. Anika will send formal notice. I'm not discussing last night. Do not contact Lyra. I write it twice. No emotion. No pleading. Then I hit send. The replies came fast, like someone slamming doors. What? Noemi, you can't do that. This is evil. Also, can you send the transfer early? That last line made me stare at the screen until I felt something click into place. Insult first, money next. I showed Anika. She made a quiet sound of disgust. Good, she said. That's a clean exhibit of who she is under pressure. Then we did the unglamorous work, quiet, surgical, permanent. While Anika drafted notices, my phone kept lighting up. Brielle called. Then called again. I let it ring, because if I picked up, she would turn it into a fight and call the fight family. A voicemail came through her voice, sweetened with panic. Noemi, please. This is a misunderstanding. Call me. You're overreacting. I'm under so much stress. Another followed, sharper. If you do this today, you're ruining everything. You know how people are. You know how it looks. I stared at the screen and realized she wasn't worried about Lyra. She was worried about lighting, angles, and applause. Anika looked up from her laptop. You okay? She asked. I'm not fragile, I said. I'm finished. On the drive back to pick Lyra up, I stopped at the grocery store and bought the small things that make a child feel safe. Her favorite noodles, strawberries, the cereal with the little stars. I wasn't trying to make up for anything. I was anchoring us in normal, because the best revenge isn't chaos. It's stability you stop handing away. Anika helped me change my direct deposit. We moved my savings to a new account. We canceled automatic payments that weren't mine one by one. Each cancellation felt like taking back an inch of space I'd given away for years. There were so many small leaks. A storage unit in Brielle's name charged to my card. A business software subscription I never used. A monthly marketing retainer that went straight to Carter's company. It wasn't just money. It was a story I'd been telling myself. If I keep paying, everyone stays calm. I watched that story dissolve in real time. Anika leaned forward. Carter will try to turn this into a conversation where you end up comforting him, she warned. Don't let him. I nodded. I won't. Before I picked Lyra up, I went to my office just long enough to remember the part of my life Brielle never bothered to see. Most people thought I was some tidy consultant who did budgets for small businesses. I let them. A woman who looks harmless hears more truth. My work was simple to describe and hard to fake. I built financial stability for organizations that served families. Grants, audits, compliance, the boring bones of care. On my calendar, highlighted in blue, was Brielle's favorite word, tonight. Willowbrook Charity, auction chair, Brielle heart. She'd been posting about it like she was saving the world with a microphone. I opened one private file, Calder Family Fund, a donor account registered under a trust quiet by design. I didn't give to be thanked. I gave because I'd been a kid once who needed a safe adult and found mostly silence. Willowbrook's auction had a matching donor. Anonymous. Me. Brielle didn't know she'd insulted my daughter under a roof my money helped build. That fact didn't make me smug. It made me clear. At 3 o'clock, Carter called. I didn't answer. He called again. Then texted, we need to talk. Now, I texted back, glass conference room, 15 minutes. If he needed to posture, he could do it where the walls were see-through. Carter met me with his tie loosened and his phone clenched like a weapon. What is going on? He demanded. I slid a folder across the table, the guarantor page, the signer forms, the transfer summary. He frowned, reading. I didn't know you were on this. I know, I replied. He looked up, irritation trying to hide fear. You can't just pull it because Brielle said something stupid. It wasn't stupid to Lyra, I said. It taught her she doesn't belong. Carter leaned back. If you revoke the guarantee, the bank can call the facility. That affects my business. Yes, I said. His jaw flexed. What do you want? There it was, the assumption this was negotiation. I'm not asking for anything, I said. I'm informing you. 30 days. You refinance. You untangle your finances from mine. Carter stared like he'd just realized the floor under him was rented. Tonight is the auction, he said, suddenly urgent. Don't do anything public. I'm not planning a scene, I said. He exhaled, relieved. I'm planning a boundary, I added. Then I left. I picked Lyra up from school and took her for hot chocolate at her favorite cafe. She talked about her spelling test like she was stitching normal back together. I listened like that was the most important work in the world. At home, she watched me lay out her dress for the evening, the same navy one with embroidered stars. Her eyes widened. People will stare. Let them, I said, and braided her hair into a neat line of patience. Tonight wasn't about proving we had money. It was about proving we had dignity. The Willowbrook ballroom smelled like polished wood and expensive perfume. The air glittered with small talk and quiet judgments. Lyra's hand tightened around mine. I squeezed back. Brielle stood near the stage in a sparkling gown. When she saw us, her smile faltered, then snapped back into place. "Noemi," she said brightly. "You came." "I said I would," I replied. Her eyes dropped to Lyra's dress. Her mouth tightened. Then she leaned in, low enough only I could hear. "What are you doing?" "You're going to humiliate me." "I'm not doing anything," I said softly. "I'm just here." Brielle straightened and turned her smile on Lyra. "Try not to wander," she said. "This is a curated event," I smiled back. "Don't worry. We won't take up room you didn't make." Brielle blinked, thrown off by the fact I wasn't fighting. The auction began. Brielle took the stage and launched into her speech about community and giving back, about making sure every child has what they need to thrive. Lyra's fingers tightened, then slowly loosened as she realized I wasn't going to fold. Halfway through, Brielle announced the matching donor. "This year," she said, smiling wide, "an anonymous family fund has agreed to match every dollar raised tonight up to $1 million. The room murmured with impressed excitement. Brielle's smile gleamed. Big numbers always made her feel important. "The Calder Family Fund," she said, savoring the name, "has supported this charity quietly for years. If the representative is here, would you please stand?" Brielle expected someone else, someone she could admire. I stood, not dramatically. Just up. Applause rose, polite at first, then fuller. Lyra stood behind me, eyes huge. Brielle froze, smiled tight, fingers white on the microphone. Carter's head snapped toward me. Our mother, seated near the front, stared like she'd just realized she'd been reading the wrong story for years. Brielle laughed too brightly. "Well, of course," she said. "Isn't that wonderful?" Noemi has always been supportive. Supportive. The word she used when she didn't want to say responsible. Brielle stepped off the stage and walked to me, fast, eyes sharp. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed. "Standing," I said. "You didn't tell me," she whispered. "You didn't ask," I replied. "You're trying to embarrass me," she said, panic flickering under the glitter. I glanced at Lyra. My daughter was watching like this was a lesson she would carry into adulthood. "I'm making sure she sees me not shrink," I said. Brielle's eyes flashed. "You can't do this tonight. People, I repeated. "The same people you used as a shield last night." I leaned in slightly. "Your words made my child feel like she was trash," I said quietly. "You did that in front of people." Brielle swallowed. "It was a joke. Impact is what Lyra carries," I said. My phone buzzed. "Anika, notice delivered." Carter received copy. Almost immediately, Carter's phone rang. He stepped away, shoulders stiffening. When he returned, his voice was tight. "The bank got notice," he said. "They want refinancing discussions immediately." Brielle's face went pale. "Noemi, you didn't." "I did," I said. "You're doing this because of one comment," she whispered. I shook my head once. That comment wasn't one. It was the truth of how you see us. Brielle's voice trembled. "This is my night. You're ruining it." I looked past her at the room still bidding, still raising money for kids who needed it. "I'm not ruining anything," I said. "The match stands. The charity wins. The only thing that changed is you can't pretend you did it alone." Carter stepped closer. "Noemi, please. We can figure this out." As if the solution was still my job. A volunteer approached with a polite smile. "Miss Calder," she said. "The emcee asked if you'd like to say a few words as the match representative." Brielle's eyes went wide, terror flashing. She wanted the match. She didn't want my voice. I looked at Lyra. She nodded once, almost imperceptibly. So I took the microphone. I didn't talk about Brielle. I didn't talk about money. I talked about children. "I fund this," I said calmly, "because kids should never have to earn belonging. Not with clothes, not with manners, not with silence. They should just have it. The room went quiet in a different way, less gossip, more listening. I added, tonight isn't about who looks generous. It's about who chooses to be. Applause rose, warm and steady. Not for Brielle. For the idea. When I handed the microphone back, Brielle's smile looked like it hurt. I turned and knelt so I could meet Lyra's eyes. Are you okay? I asked. Lyra nodded, surprising herself. I want to stay. My chest tightened. Okay, I said. Then we stay. I stood and faced Brielle again. Apologize to Lyra, I said. Brielle's eyes darted around faces, whispers, image. I waited, no anger. Just reality. Finally she looked at Lyra. I'm sorry, she said stiffly. I shouldn't have said that. Lyra's chin lifted. Why did you say it? Brielle glanced at me like she wanted rescue. I stay still. Brielle's shoulders sagged. Because I was being cruel, she admitted. Lyra nodded once. Okay, she said. Not forgiveness, not a prize, just acknowledgement. I turned to Carter. Any discussion goes through Anika, I said. Not me. Carter's jaw tightened. Your mother. My mother can call Anika too, I said. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. We stayed through the rest of the auction. When donors came to thank the Calder Fund representative, I kept it simple. The kids matter. Lyra sat straighter beside me, her fingers no longer crushing mine. A woman in pearls leaned down to Lyra. That dress is lovely, she said. Stars are my favorite. Lyra blinked, then smiled. Mine too, she said. In the lobby, Brielle intercepted us again, eyes red with fury. You did this on purpose, she hissed. I did it to protect my daughter, I said. The money stops. The disrespect stops. If you want to be in Lyra's life, you earn it. Brielle's face hardened. You'll regret this. I held her gaze. No, I said softly. You will, if you keep choosing cruelty because it makes you feel higher. I took Lyra's hand and walked out. In the car, Lyra stared at the city lights sliding across the window. When you stood up, she whispered, I felt like your inside was big. I reached back and squeezed her knee. That's yours too, I told her. Don't ever trade it for someone's approval. Lyra was quiet for a long time. Then she said, small, I'm not a bad kid, right? My chest tightened. No, I said, steady. You're a good kid. And even if you weren't perfect, you'd still deserve kindness. At home, I tucked her in. Are you going to be okay? She asked, sleepy. I'm going to be better, I said. After she fell asleep, my phone rang from an unknown number. Miss Calder, a man said. This is Raymond Holt from Willowbrook Bank. We received notice about the guarantee revocation. We'd like to schedule next steps. Please contact my attorney, I said. Anika Shah. There was a pause. Understood, he said. And congratulations. The charity did very well tonight. Thank you, I said, and ended the call. In the morning, Anika called with a practical update. Carter's scrambling, she said. They're refinancing. The bank wants documents by Friday. Your timeline holds. I exhaled. Good. And Brielle asked if you'd reconsider once things calm down, Anika added. Did she ask about Lyra? I asked. Anika was silent for a beat. No, she said. Then no, I replied. The next morning, my family group chat was chaos. I didn't answer. I made breakfast. I braided Lyra's hair. I walked her to school. At the door, she turned and waved. She looked steady. That was the only metric that mattered. That afternoon, our mother showed up at my office. She didn't sit at first. She just looked at me like I stepped out of a role she'd assigned. You embarrassed your sister, she said. My sister embarrassed my daughter, I replied. I stopped hiding what was true. My mother's mouth tightened. You could have handled it privately. I did, I said. I left quietly. I signed documents quietly. The only public thing was the truth. Brielle didn't want attached to her knight. My mother's eyes softened, then hardened again. She's your sister, and Lyra is my daughter, I said. Silence. Then my mother asked, smaller, what do you want from me? I held her gaze. Stop asking me to swallow harm to keep peace, I said. Peace that costs Lyra is not peace. My mother nodded once, like it hurt. Then she left. That evening, Brielle texted, can we talk? Just us, I typed. If you want to talk, start with Lyra. Write an apology you'd be proud for her to read when she's grown. If you want to be in her life, you earn it with respect. An hour later, a photo arrived. A sheet of paper in Brielle's handwriting, messy, uneven, not pretty, but honest enough to count as a beginning. Lyra, I'm sorry I made you feel like you didn't belong. You do. I was wrong and it was cruel. I'm going to do better. I won't talk about you like that again. I'm sorry. Brielle I showed Lyra the next morning. She read it slowly then looked up. Does she mean it? I don't know, I admitted. But if she means it, she prove it with actions. Lyra nodded. Okay, she said. We met Brielle 1 week later at a cafe, public, bright, no stage. Brielle arrived without glitter, eyes nervous. She didn't reach for my hand. She didn't demand forgiveness. For the first time in her life, she looked like she knew she didn't get to direct the scene. I'm sorry, she said to Lyra again, steadier this time. I was mean. Lyra looked at her for a long moment. Then she asked, why do you care so much about fancy stuff? Brielle blinked, glanced at me, then answered the child instead of performing. Because I thought if people thought I was important, she said quietly, they wouldn't leave me. Lyra considered that, then slid her folded drawing across the table. A simple star. Brielle stared at it like she'd never been given something that didn't come with a price tag. Thank you, she whispered. Lyra shrugged. Stars are big, she said. Even if they're far away. Brielle swallowed and looked at me. I didn't know, she said, voice thin. About the match, about all of it. You'd know, I agreed. Because you never asked. Her eyes filled, but she didn't make it my job. What do I do now? She asked. I answered calmly. You treat Lyra like a person, not a prop. You stop using money as a ladder, and you handle your own finances. That's what you do. Brielle nodded, slow and humbled. When the hour ended, we left. In the car, Lyra looked out the window, thoughtful. I like her better like this, she said. So do I replied. That night, after Lyra fell asleep, I opened my laptop and signed a contract for my work. Quiet, boring, secure. The kind of stability I used to pour into everyone else first. I closed the computer and let the quiet settle. Brielle didn't change because I yelled. She changed because I stopped paying for her to stay the same. And Lyra didn't heal because someone complimented her dress. She healed because she saw her mother stand up without becoming cruel. 2 more great stories are next. Don't miss them. Subscribe and turn on notifications.